whatever happens, I can't be in front of Courtney because that would just be, that would be something that would not be good. And we started going downhill. And as I'm running downhill, she's on the side of the trail tying her shoes. So then I passed her, and then I make it to the first aid station in front of Courtney. And then I thought to myself, like, oh no.
Hello.
You stole my line. How you doing?
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. Getting there.
What's new?
What's new? Well, I'll tell you. I went over our YouTube analytics.
Ooh, do tell.
And I have to say, it's very interesting since I'm a numbers guy and I like to see analytics.
Mm-hmm.
There's one particular analytics showed that 94.7% of the people that watch us on YouTube are not subscribed.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Interesting, because I get it. Because every time I'm on GCN.
Global Cycling Network.
Yeah. Training.
Yeah.
I've watched their videos for years. And I'm constantly training. Anything that comes out new, I'll watch it. And I was never subscribed. So I get it. I get the fact that people don't subscribe. But then I realized, wait a minute, I'm a freaking hypocrite. So I started subscribing to GCN and anything else that we watch regularly.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you watch us, you like our content on YouTube,
do us a flavor.
Just that little, you don't even have to smash it. People say smash that subscribe button and blah, blah. No, you don't have to. Just tap.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
And what's happening in GottaRunRacing?
Chase the Coyote is live.
Wow.
And it's the final edition.
It's our final, and it's our 10th and final year.
That's right.
Of Chase the Coyote.
That's right. Our baby.
So for those who always wanted to run up Cardiac Hill and the Roots of All Evil, the 64 Steps to Ruin, then the Roots of All Evil, this will be the last time
to do so
at our event. Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
And where can you sign up?
Well, GottaRunRacing, or that links you to Race Roster.
That's right.
But and all those people who always wanted to chase the coyote and never got around to it, this is it. Your last shot.
Last chance.
And for those who have come every year, hey, make it make it your final race.
And why not try a longer distance?
Yeah, change it up.
Why not?
See what's out there. What's all this Deaf and Forest about?
All right. So who we got on the podcast today? The podcast.
Marianne Hogan.
Right.
And she's a comeback kid. She was a incredible runner back in 2017. But then last year she said, I'm back, baby. And
yeah.
And she came out with Harricana. She did there well. She did well at Harricana. She did well at Cape Town Ultra Tour. And golden ticket at Bandera.
Don't give it all away.
Okay. Lots to talk about. Marianne Hogan coming up. Marianne Hogan, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Bienvenue sur le podcast.
Merci. C'est un plaisir d'être ici.
I mentioned to Jody about your podium at Cape Town 2 months ago, and I said to her, oh, we have to have her on the podcast. But then what happened at Bandera, that's what I said to her, okay, we must have her on the podcast.
Nice. I'm glad that finish got me not only a golden ticket but a spot on this podcast. So thank you.
But first, for our 3 listeners in Jamaica who don't know who you are, wondering let's go back to the beginning and how or when did you even start running?
Sure. It's a long story that I'll try to make as short as possible. So I kind of started as a swimmer, and then eventually transitioned as a triathlete because I turned out to be a much better runner than I was a swimmer. But I also really liked the combination. Actually, triathlon was a sport that I really loved, and I practiced from like 10 to 18 years old. And when I turned 18, I was thinking that, it was always my dream to kind of go study in the US on a full ride scholarship. So back in my day, there was no scholarships available for triathlon. So I kind of tried out for track and field and moved all the way to California. I am originally from Quebec. So it was kind of like the decision for me to move all the way across the continent and make the best of my experience. And I did 5 years of track and field at San Diego State University, where I ran the 10 kilometers. And when I got done with that, I was really kind of over the whole pacing and, the specific workouts around the track where you have to hit like a specific pace. And I just thought but I really loved running and I really didn't want to get away from that. And I actually moved to Boulder, Colorado for 3 years, where I really discovered trail running, ultra running, and everything that has to do with it. So that's kind of when I started trail running, and I've been running ever since. I've had a couple pretty serious injuries that kind of kept me away from the trail running scene for a while. But in 2021 and 2022, I was able to make what people like to say a comeback. And I've been really happy ever since. So that's kind of it in a very short glance.
And the rest is history.
Exactly.
Let's get into the history.
Yeah, let's get into it. So
sure.
We've done a little bit of research, and one of the things that we came across was a very interesting stage race that you did with Mathieu Blanchard, who, for those who are maybe new to the sport, just finished at UTMB in 3rd place. Originally from France, now living in Quebec. How did you two hook up to do that race? And can you explain that race a little bit to us?
And this is back in 2017.
Right, 2017.
Yeah, this was back in 2017 when I was still living in Colorado. I was just moving back to Canada actually in that year. We were selected to do Transalpine together early or in 2017. And Transalpine is I think it's a 7-day stage race. It's a little far back now, but it was a 7-day stage race that runs through the Alps in Europe, and then we went through 4 different countries, which is so fun, and to this day probably one of the best races I've ever done. And it's really nice because you run from one city to the next, and every time you get there, you get into a new lodging, you meet new people, and it's just really nice because you share the race with different trail runners from all over the world, and it lasts 7 days, so it's so much fun. It was a very good experience, and it has a lot of vert. I think it had. I don't even want to venture out with the number, but it was a pretty good effort. It comes out to maybe like a marathon per day. For 7 days in a row with quite a bit of climbing. So it was really fun.
And you had to run together.
Yeah, we couldn't be more than a minute apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and how did you do?
We won that stage race. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of, it was a really good time. I think there's no other way to describe it. It's very particular actually to be able to do a race with another person and really be kind of tied to the hip. We really couldn't be even if we they don't always check you if you're 1 minute apart, but we ran the entirety like really close together. And it's really nice because you're not just running with the person, but you're also going through the motions.
So you were either going to be the best of friends or the worst of enemies at the end of that.
Exactly.
So it worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out great 5 years later. And I'd say we were pretty close to being best friends. So it worked out really well.
Awesome.
And then there was a gap after 2017. We noticed on Ultra Sign Up that what happened between the gap between 17 and 2000 or 2001? I don't know.
2021.
2021. Yeah, a lot happened actually, but a lot of mishaps, unfortunately. So I came back from a 2017 year that was really strong, and I felt really good, and I had a really bad trail fall. So I just went running and I twisted my ankle, but I was running, it was going downhill and my ankle twisted. It got caught in a rock and my body went forward and I had a spiral fracture of my tibia and my fibula. So it was a pretty intense fracture that took me way longer than I ever would have expected to recover. You know, the same night that it happened, I had a phone call with my doctor and he told me that it was going to take me a really long time and I didn't believe him. But he turned out to be 100% true. Spiral fractures are actually pretty difficult. I had to have 2 plates and 14 screws put into my right leg.
Wow. For
me, the whole year that I had those, I was barely able to run without pain. Actually, I wasn't able to run without pain. I was able to run, but not without pain. So it was kind of a rough road back. And then late in 2019, I was able to get those removed finally. And then eventually was able to start building back. And that's kind of what brought me back in 2021.
Did any of those doctors tell you not to run?
No, but a lot of doctors told me after that they were surprised that I was able to run actually. Yeah, and that I'll take for sure. But not able to run. I actually probably some people said it, but it's as runners, I think you just kind of let that information go into to one ear and out the other. So I'm not that. I refuse to believe that there's such a thing, right?
If a doctor says to you, "Don't run," you're thinking, so just don't do 20K?
Yeah, exactly. I did a lot of stuff during that time. I became a guide for a Paralympic triathlete, which was really nice. It was, you know, it's an experience that I don't think I would have lived if I didn't break my leg, because I probably would have just been running. And so it's just different types of experiences, and it's kind of just, you know, trying to make the most with what you have.
Right. Tell us a little bit about your experience as a guide, because you competed at a very high level, in fact.
So yeah, I was called upon being a guide for a Paralympic athlete who was on the road for Tokyo. And at the time, I signed on to be a guide until 2020. But obviously the pandemic hit and all of that. And, but I was very determined to kind of see my way all the way through her Paralympic journey. And so that's kind of also what made it that it took me a little bit longer to kind of get back into the trail world, because I was definitely focused to being a guide for Jessica, who's the Paralympic triathlete that I guided all the way through Tokyo 2021. Right. And so that was my focus for most of 2021, because I definitely wasn't able to trail run or run as much as I would have wanted if I wasn't doing that. But it's not something, you know, I'm more than happy to have gone. The Tokyo 2021 Paralympics were an experience of a lifetime, and I'm glad that I saw it through for sure.
Wow, that's incredible.
So Jessica must be a serious triathlete in her own right to be going to the Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. She's very impressive, because she went to the Paralympics in the early 2000s. She went to 2 Paralympics. She's actually a medalist, but in swimming. And then she came back and started working started building up as a triathlete. So it's very interesting. And it's kind of nice because we really balanced each other out, because she was more of a swimmer, so less of a runner. And I definitely more of a runner and less of a swimmer. But I love swimming. That's not to say, but it was just a good pair for sure.
And Jessica's visually impaired, is that correct?
Yeah, she's visually impaired. She's actually 100% blind, so she does not perceive light, or she does not see anything. So it's really, you know, it's quite impressive when you think about it. And sometimes I'm baffled at the things she's able to do, you know.
That's cool.
And she must have so much trust in you, in the fact.
Yeah. We always laugh, because when sometimes you go like on the tandem, it's pretty crazy how fast you can go. And sometimes, like if you're going downhill on tandem, you know, you can easily catch like 80 kilometers per hour. And sometimes like after that, I'm like, it's crazy when you think about it. Like if one of us tried to get on the back of a tandem and close our eyes and you're going 80K per hour, like it just seems like a surreal experience for sure.
What a ride.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally.
Awesome. Yeah. Exactly.
So let's talk about your comeback year.
Yep.
That happened last year. Your comeback race was, I guess, Harricana 125. Is that right?
Yeah. You know, it's a race that went really well, but Unfortunately, I'm still living with the circumstances of my broken leg, and around kilometer 80, I twisted my ankle like nothing. Like I was doing really well, and I was in a great position. I think I was third overall at that time. And I twisted my ankle, and I had trouble at that point. I didn't know that I was going to be able to finish the race. So it was a struggle after that, to be honest. My ankle really, it just swelled up like crazy. And I was, for like 10 minutes, I was sitting on the side of the trail and wondering how, if I was going to be able to finish the race. But I was able to kind of shuffle my way to the end, and eventually I was able to kind of start jogging more normally, and I made it to a second place female finish and fifth overall. So I was pretty happy, but it was definitely an interesting comeback race for sure. It was like it was so typical of Marianne of the last 4 years.
Also, you're obviously pretty well known in Quebec. Everyone must know you in the running and the ultra running community in Quebec, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about well known, but I mean, I like to be part of the community. Yeah, so I would say I'm semi well known.
So they must be thinking, "Oh, she's back." They're all happy she's back, but they're also thinking, "Oh shit, she's back."
Something like that. I guess that's a good thing.
That's great. So that you finished in second place overall, and or in the women's, in the fifth overall. Yeah. Wow. And that's not an easy race either, Harricana. That's not an easy race.
It's super technical. It's very, I mean, if you guys are from Ontario, I'm sure that the trails are pretty similar. We're not that far away from one another, but the trails are, lots of roots, lots of rocks, lots of everything. So but it's nice. They're beautiful trails, and beautiful views, and the race is super well organized. And it was actually the race when I broke my leg. It was the race that I was supposed to do 2 weeks later. I was registered at the 125. So it was somewhat important for me to come back and kind of do what I was supposed to do 4 years ago. So
it's like a symbolic race. It's fine.
Exactly.
Let's get this thing done.
Yeah, let's get it done. I wrote to the organizer of the race, and I was like, "Hey, I'm back 4 years later.
I'm back, baby.
Can we do this?"
I'm sure they were very happy to have you back too.
Thanks.
Let's move on to Ultra Trail Cape Town, which happened 2 months ago, I guess. No,
2 months ago.
2 months.
Yeah,
3 months.
End of November. Mm-hmm.
Right around the time that Omicron made its appearance in South Africa.
I think a day before the race, Omicron made its appearance. Just to add a little bit of stress, but it's anyways, we won't get into that discussion because that's a whole other discussion. But
What made you choose Cape Town? What made you decide to go there?
I registered back, I think it was in March of 2021. I think, Cape Town, what I love most about trail running is those trails that, you run in the mountain and you're next to the water. But obviously when I got done with Harricana, it was all, the story of me finishing the race is all good, but I definitely lived with some consequences. Sorry. And so it took me a while to kind of recover. My ankle was actually early November. It was still, kind of the size of a baseball ball. It was huge. It took forever to kind of get back low. And so I did a lot of mileage actually with a pretty swollen ankle. And I was having a lot of difficulty with any type of technical terrain. So it was a hard road back. But when I made it out there, for some reason, like the 2 or 3 weeks before, my ankle got significantly better. So it goes to show you can never lose all of your hope, right? Like I didn't know what was going to happen, and I figured it might be one of those races where the goal is only to finish.
How did it feel being at the start line with a pretty well-known runner from the US named Courtney?
Courtney,
it was really good actually. I think that if there's a runner that I would run against, it's definitely Courtney, regardless of how fast she is. I think I really respect the individual. I love how how good of a personality she has and how happy she is. I think that's the most important part. And that's definitely something that I'd like to also share with people, is just her joy of being out on the trails. And it was just really good to be able to run some miles with her. And it was a lot of fun for sure. I think we got an email, like I think all participants of UTCT got an email when Jim and Courtney announced that they were going to be at the start. And I couldn't be more thrilled, right? Like there's no, like, what are the odds that the first international race I pick, Courtney and Jim decide to be at the start line? And I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow. Did you get to run with her? Is that what you said? You ran some miles with her?
Yeah, it's really funny. I ran the first 10 kilometers with her. Then it was really funny because, I just kept thinking, like, whatever happens, I can't be in front of Courtney, because that would just be, that'd be something that would not be good. But then I was running with her, and then eventually, like, we were going uphill and she kind of like got away a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is good. And then we started going downhill, and as I'm running downhill, she's on the side of the trail tying her shoes. So then I passed her, and then I make it to the first aid station in front of Courtney, and then I thought to myself, like, oh no. Like exactly what I didn't want, but it's part of it was just a funny story. It doesn't really matter in the end. But and then what happened was, after that I kept running, and I took a wrong turn at one of the trails without knowing. I was just running on the trail following the person in front of me, and then realized that he kind of darted off on the left and I was like, what is this guy doing? And it turned out that he had realized that he was going the wrong way, and he was getting back on the trail. So I was following him, made back on the trail, and as I'm making my way back, I see Courtney run by. So and then I never caught her again. So the first 10K was all I could run with her. So
oh, that's funny. So so Courtney did not know where you were. She must have thought you were in front the entire race.
But I don't think so. I think someone definitely told her. I don't know what she thought. And I don't think I have no idea. Maybe she never even saw me pass her when she was tying her shoes. I don't know, but I don't know. But no, she's really nice, and it's good to be able to, share a beer at the finish line with her and all the good stuff for sure.
Awesome.
And
how did your race go overall? Then what happened to your race?
Yeah, everything went really well. I felt really good the whole time. It's really interesting race because it's always like up and down. It's very technical sections, but definitely some more rolling ones as well. It's really funny because the first like half of the day we were freezing, and then the second half of the day we were super hot. So it definitely kind of like, called upon both kind of likings. And to me, it worked out really well. It was a great race. I had a little bit of a down from like the kilometer 80 to kilometer 90. And I kept being told that the third place girl was catching up. And then I was thinking like, oh no, I don't want to, you don't want to be second like the whole entire race and then get your spot taking at the end. But then for some reason, I just kept pushing, and I kept thinking like, eventually the energy will come back up, and around 90 kilometers, the energy came back up, and then I started picking up some time and made some distance with third position. So I was pretty happy that I was able to hold on to the second place for sure.
That's interesting, that position of second place, because you're chasing Courtney, but then someone's chasing you. So
yeah,
what do you prefer? Do you prefer to do the chasing or to be chased?
What works better for your own
strategy? For your mental strength of.
I definitely care more about being chased, because you're kind of in control of it, right? Because as long as you're going faster, then you're in control of if the person is catching you or not. Whereas like Courtney, I don't control the speed she's going at, and so like it's kind of more difficult to kind of put a goal in that perspective. So. And that's, if we talk about Bandera in a second, that's kind of what I'll explain, is that I prefer being up front and knowing that I'm in control of if I'm in first position or not,
Right.
That's a good point.
So, but just before we get to Bandera, at what point was Western States on your radar? Was this a plan that you'd had in place for a while, or when did that come about?
I'd say that Western States was on the radar since 2017. If I hadn't had a stress fracture and broken my leg, I think I would have given it my shot in 2018. Unfortunately, I had to wait a good 4 years to kind of get that done. So I guess to me, it was just like, oh, I'm healthy this year, then let's give it my best shot, you know, and that was kind of my strategy. And that's why I registered for all 3 US golden ticket races and was hoping that I was going to be able to make it happen. But, you know, you never know.
No, you never know. So that's the 3 were Bandera,
Black Canyon, and the Canyons.
And the Canyons. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. So now you're on the start line of Bandera. Did you start getting the feeling of I'm somewhat getting noticed now that what happened in Cape Town? Was people saying, hey, I know this girl now, I gotta watch out for this one?
Well, it was definitely a progress, because at Cape Town I was not on the elite start, so I was like definitely behind. And people were asking me what my name was at the start, whereas at Bandera, you know, I was looking at the you know, I like to see kind of who was on the start line and the Iron Far articles, and my name was on the list, so that was definitely a progress.
Nice.
But you know, to me, it doesn't really matter, you know, as long as you know what you're capable, and as long as it doesn't really matter who knows who you are or who thinks who of you, like what of you. I don't really care, as long as I'm aware of who is my competition and kind of who am I running with, and the rest is kind of up to me to believe in myself and not necessarily to other people.
Yeah.
So tell us about Bandera. How did you feel in the start line, and what happened?
Yeah, well, Bandera is just you know, I don't think I've ever had such a perfect race, and like in the way I felt, not necessarily in the result, but the result was really good. In the way that I felt was just excellent, you know, from the very start. I just, you know, I was determined to go out there and get the job done. And that's kind of what I had in the forefront of my mind from the very beginning, to the point where, you know, I started the race, and 500 meters in, I saw a girl like in front of me, and I just thought like, oh, if I go in front of her, then I'll know that I'm first, and I know that, and that'll just make things easy for me. So that's all I did. I passed the girl, and then I stayed up front, and I didn't ask again where the second girl was until maybe the kilometer 75. It's actually a really cool race, because it's a 100K. You run 2 loops, and the first 25K is super technical, and with a lot of ups and downs. So, you know, you're just kind of going through the little hills. And then the second 25K is super rolling. So it's almost flat, and you know, you can get those legs moving. And so it's kind of nice, because you're going from, you know, you're using different muscles and different types of energy. So it kind of goes by pretty fast, in my opinion.
Right. So how did it feel getting your golden ticket on your first try?
Oh man, that felt really good. That was definitely the highlight of my last 4 or 5 years. But actually, I mean, there was a lot of good times in those years. But my point is more, it's nice to have a kind of like a culminating result where I can finally be happy with the work that I've done and things that I have gone through to get there. And it's just a very good feeling, right? Like, it's kind of funny too, like they give you a large golden ticket, and it's funny because when I crossed the finish line, they asked me like, do you want the golden ticket? And then, I was like, yeah, I was really close to answer that, but then I was like, oh no, I'll say yeah, for sure. I was very happy to get the golden ticket, definitely.
That's fantastic. Are you going to go to the Western training run as well then?
Yeah, you will. Yeah. Definitely. I'm pretty excited for that, actually.
I may see you there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good. Are you doing the Western States or?
Yeah, I'm doing Western States as well. It's took me 6 years to get in. So maybe same amount of time as you, maybe. Because you tried it in 2017.
Yeah, just about. Well, congrats. That's really cool.
Thank you. I'm going to try to stay with you for about 2 minutes in the start line going up the ski hill.
Sounds good.
So after Western, Marianne, have you got any other big ticket races that are on your to-do list, or are you gonna see how it goes?
Yeah, I don't know if you know the race, but it's called UTMB.
No, I've never
heard that one.
I don't know if you've heard of it. No, actually, what happened was that I wasn't going to register for anything else other than Western States because I really wanted to focus only on that. But then, I think Bandera was on a Saturday, and then on Sunday, I started seeing people like posting that they were registering to UTMB, and I was thinking like, oh, I wonder if I have the points or am able to register. So the idea kind of got in my head, and then I think the next day I decided like, oh yeah, I'd really like to do UTMB. So I registered for it, and so I'm ending up doing Western States and UTMB, which I understand and respect the fact that they are two big races, and there's a risk associated with it. But I think that given my history and given my lack of racing, that's a risk that I'm willing to take at this point. So we'll see.
Did you want to give a shout out to any of your sponsors or anybody that's on your team?
Oh, sponsors. I have a lot of people to thank there, but for sure, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Solomon. I think it's really, really nice that, I don't even remember, that's 2017 now. So is it 5 or 6 years ago? Who knows? But they took me on and they kept me on when I was injured for that long. And it's really nice to know, I posted it in one of the posts, but I really believe it. It's really nice to know that, someone is supporting you through all your downs, and now you can share the ups with them. And that's really, really something that I value. But obviously, a lot of companies I started working with as a mix in all of that, and NAC Bars is one of the things that I work with. One of the companies that I work with, and Elliot works with as well. It's a nutrition company that does a lot more than just nutrition, and that's really another one of my sponsors that I would definitely like to give a shout out. And then I'm working with Coros and Brix, which is maple syrups.
Yes.
Love Brix.
And
Yes.
yeah. And from Ontario, I guess you guys know the Quebec coffee.
Yes.
Which is definitely another brand that I'd like to give a shout out to. And then most importantly, I'd like to give a shout out to all the people that I get to run with on a daily basis. I think that that's really is the most important for me, in the sense of, I wouldn't be the runner that I am today without all of the people that I get to share those kilometers with, and miles for Americans listening. But it's definitely, it makes a huge difference. And I think that's what's so good about the trail running.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
We will see you at Squaw.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat with you. All right.
Thanks again. Cheers.
Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Well.
Well.
Marianne Hogan.
Wow.
I love her spirit.
Yeah.
Positive attitude.
That injury.
Ooh.
I can't even think. Well, it actually happened to me with my foot. Remember, I broke my foot in the forest with a fireman who didn't help me get out of it. So I had to hobble out myself. And that was up for a year.
But spiral, to me, sounds like one bone went one way and one bone went the other. I'm not looking it up. But it was terrible.
Okay. How she was able to slowly get back into running, and the mindset that, yes, I'm going to make this happen.
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
And then her comeback year, last year, second place, golden ticket.
Yeah.
There you go. I can't wait to
Dreams do come true.
I can't wait to see what she does at Squaw.
And UTMB.
Yeah, UTMB.
Yeah.
But I can't wait to meet her at Squaw.
Absolutely.
It's going to be awesome. And again, a lot of Canadian contingents there.
Yeah. Exciting.
Mm-hmm. So there you have Marianne Hogan.
If you want to hear the full-length version of our chat with Marianne, check out our podcast.
And hit that subscribe button. Cheers.